My guest today on Entre Nous is American chef and businesswoman Cat Bude. She is also the author of the book French Kitchen Lesson Recipes and Stories from Normandy's Rabbit Hill Farm. Cat, thanks so much for coming in and joining us today on France 24.
Thank you for the invitation.
So your book came out about a year ago. Tell me about what inspired you to write it.
Well, it came from a few different things. One is my love of food and feeding people and creating recipes, and the other was my love of writing. And when the opportunity presented itself that I could actually do all of those things, along with my love of photography, in one big project, it sort of had to happen for me. It was exciting to be able to do it. Cookbooks had changed a little bit in that they were less technical and textbook-like and more story-like. So for me, that was super appealing to jump into that.
Right, and that's what's so interesting about it. It really does have this blend of sort of your own story, your life story, a bit memoir, a bit recipes as well. Why did you go into the choice to structure it by seasons, which I think is a really interesting choice?
I think I saw seasons as much metaphorical as I did literal. So I felt that we were passing through different seasons of our life, moving to France at an older age than some people. We were kind of starting over a little bit later than some people do. And then also that different seasons of integration into a French family, into having a farm, very season-driven elements in our life. And also, I just felt that the story flowed along with that. I remember everything about our arrival in France based on when it was. It was in summer. I remember certain events in the family that happened in autumn. So everything kind of fell together and then matched up with food memories of recipes.
Right, and like many expats who come to France, I mean, you found the language itself not the easiest to master. No. How much did your knowledge of French cooking actually help you kind of bridge that language gap?
I think strangely enough, I didn't realize how much French vocabulary I had in food. So the first few times that hit me was when I went to the markets on my own. And I was really able to converse with the sellers. And their welcome openness to embrace the American that was there asking for strange things at the wrong time of year or not knowing certain, I couldn't actually conjugate a verb, but I could actually communicate very well through, food. And so I almost impressed myself with how much I knew before I even studied a word of French. And then that just led into a place of comfort, a place I felt like I was at home to go to the market. And they didn't mind. They didn't mind if I, misspoke. So it was the first step towards really starting to feel that sense of, yes, I belong here, and I can figure this thing out.
And you also talk a lot about your French father-in-law and how the two of you got bonded over food. Tell me about that.
Yeah, despite the language barrier. And that was what I think it occurred to me many years after he passed, was that we really did have a beautiful communication through food, which was him not necessarily even demonstrating per se, but me observing how he would do food and create food and the little secret things that he would do. And I would have to ask someone else because he wouldn't tell me. So I'd say, that sauce, how did he do that? And then after he passed, going to the family members and asking about recipes and, just different things. What was most meaningful to him? So that I was hoping to honor him. And that turned out to be the autumn section of the book that talks mostly about traditional Norman food and also what I learned from him.
You talk about traditional Norman food. You also talk a lot about this notion of terroir. Explain to our viewers who might not know this typically French word what that means.
I think it's I think the simpler version of it that a lot of people would understand is like eating local, eating seasonal. And it's also regional, like what that certain place is known for. Terroir is basically dirt. It's the earth. It's what the produce comes from. So it's this love of, I think it's a dedication to local producers, supporting local farms. And that's really changed for us since we've been in France. It's not just going to the grocery store. It's not even just going to a market. It's actually having relationships. And that's been really meaningful for me, I guess, as far as feeling like I do have family and friends here, even if I don't literally have most of my family, who's mostly in the United States.
So, of course, there's a lot of great recipes inside your book. Is there a particular recipe or a particular dish that is particularly symbolic of your journey from the U.S. to France?
I guess I would go back to the autumn section again and say that those slow-cooked, really kind of thoughtful dishes speak to me. I don't think I did a lot of oxtail or beef cheeks or things like some more of the traditional historical-based food in the United States at all. I did some kind of risky things, but not so much, we have a different idea as Americans what French food is. And I think the rustic country food is something I really learned once, really getting established in Normandy.
I have to ask a sort of provocative question. For a book about a place called Rabbit Hill, no rabbit recipes in this book.
No. Yeah, no lamb, no rabbit, no veal. Yeah, I do have
choices?
those are my choices. And in fact, I do go between often taking months as being a vegetarian as well. I do have. So I think, Rabbit Hill is basically based on the fact that the farmland where the house sits is just inundated with rabbits. And that was from the minute we first saw the house, it was very evident that they owned it and not us. So we let them, they have their section of the garden, they have everything that they need, but they're never beyond the table. So.
And Kat, this book came out a year ago. Have you had any reactions from a reader or someone that particularly struck you?
I think what has left the biggest impression on me is that people, they don't have it just in the kitchen. They also have it on their side table. It's on their coffee table, and they're reading it. And I love that. A lot of people said, I haven't tried one recipe, but I've read it from cover to cover. And that means more to me, I think.
Kat, thank you so much for coming in to talk to us about your book. Cat Bude, the author of French Kitchen Lessons, Recipes and Stories from Rabbit Hill Farm. Thank you so much, and we'll be sure to check you out the next time we're in Normandy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.